come make this delicious pie with me. I'm gonna teach you how to make this beautiful crust. It looks intimidating, but I swear it's actually easy. Come on in, let's go. So let's get started. What you're gonna need is some pie dough. So you can use store-bought pie dough, but I think you should use my pie dough recipe, which is an all butter pie crust. It makes all the difference in the world. So a tender, flaky crust is key, but what we're focusing right now on is lattice crust technique. So if you wanna try this with some store-bought, that's completely fine. So I've gone ahead and I've rolled this out. And what I've got right here is a pastry wheel. You can get these pretty much anywhere. I love this one. I will have to make a plug probably for Williams-Sonoma right here because it is one of my most favorite pastry wheels. You want one that's got really good indentations in it because I like to get that nice flute in every single one of my cuts. You want that big, nice fluted edge. It makes the top of your strips look prettier on top of your pie. And I like a pretty pie. I mean, I'll just have to admit. So what you wanna do is just look at this picture and notice how you're gonna have tons of strips of dough. So we're gonna start with really, really thin strips. I would say about 1/8 of an inch thick. And I'm just gonna start cutting into the dough. Now you don't want your dough to be too soft because if your dough is too soft, you're not gonna be able to work with these little bitty strips. Another thing is you don't want your dough to be too thin. If your dough is too thin, you're not gonna be able to pull back. Come on in here so I can show you this. You're not gonna be able to pull back these pieces of dough. They're gonna end up getting stuck. So you wanna make sure that it's just about, I don't know, I would say about 1/8 of an inch thick also. So don't roll it out way too thin or you're gonna have a lot of problems. So what do you do if you do feel like your dough is too thin? I want you to take it and I want you to wad it back up. Don't wad it too much. I probably shouldn't have used the word wad, not the best word. But I want you to roll it back up, bring it back together, and then I want you to roll it back out. And don't roll it too thin on your second roll. That's gonna be the best way. So the good thing is, you can't really mess this up. You can always re-roll your dough. So don't get frustrated with yourself on the first try. If it doesn't work out, just put your dough into a ball and re-roll it again. Add a little bit of extra flour so it doesn't stick to your counter. Or, let me share this trick with you, which you can already see. I like to use the parchment. You can roll it out. You can roll your dough in between 2 pieces of parchment. And that way, you don't have to put flour all over your whole entire counter. You don't have to make a huge mess. And your little strips, come on back in here, I wanna show you this. Your little strips of dough pull off a lot more easily when you use the parchment like this. Just makes it nice and easy. All right, so I've finished stripping, not myself, the pie. I've stripped the whole entire piece of dough right here. And here's my little trick. I like to take and put my piece of parchment back on top of my dough, give it a nice little, little smooth work over. Give it a little massage right there for a second so it kind of sticks to the other side. Flip it over, loosen this parchment off the top so that your dough is not stuck on the other side. What you want to keep this from doing, your dough from doing, is sticking to each side of your parchment. So you're kind of like lifting it off of each side. You just kind of want it lightly on your parchment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this into the fridge because the longer you leave your dough out, the more likely your butter is to start melting and get mushy, and the more your butter melts, the harder it is to work with. So you want really, really cold dough when you're working with this. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge and I'm gonna get out my other dough. So I brought this one out. And like I said, I love these pieces of parchment because I can just pull it right off. I like to loosen up the other side too so that we can get started. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna cut these into about 1/8 of an inch strips. Begin the process of weaving these two together. Here comes the challenging part. Okay, so let's begin. We've got both these doughs here. This can look a little bit intimidating. Move our recipe book up here. But what you're gonna do is, I'm gonna simplify this for you and make it very, very simple. You're gonna start with one dough and you're gonna pull back every other strip of dough halfway back. We're gonna pull every every strip of dough halfway back. And y'all, you wanna work quickly because like I said earlier, the longer you leave this dough out, the more it's gonna begin to thaw. So I do love to cook in the kitchen with my kids, but I tried this one time with my boys who are 11 and 6, and it was a major fail because this takes a good bit of concentration and a good bit of time. So I decided that when I'm doing lattice and I'm doing an intricate weave like this is something that I reserve for fun for myself. And this becomes very therapeutic and very relaxing for me. So if you need something that kind of challenges your mind, but also relaxes you a little bit, I think you might find that this can work for you. So I pulled back every other strip, and then I took a strip from over here and I laid it across. And then I brought the strips back across that strip. And I try and keep it very straight and in line. All right, now I'm gonna pull back every other strip, and you wanna pull it back and keep it pretty tight against this strip that you brought over from this pie. So I'm lifting it back, I'm not stretching it, I'm not pulling it, I'm being very gentle and very patient with it, and I am pulling it back pretty tight up against this strip right here because I gotta get another piece of dough right up against that. I want this to be a tight weave with not a lot of air gaps in it. All right, you see how we did this? And now since this is the middle part of the pie, I'm gonna pull a middle part, a longer strip of dough from over here. I don't wanna pull a little edge, I wanna pull a longer one because it's going over a longer part of this dough right here. So I'm gonna take and pull this next longer one and bring it right over and just kind of nestle it up against the last strip that you brought from over here. And then begin to pull your lattice back over. So what we'll do is we'll continue with this dough just like this, and we'll complete this side, which we've almost completed, and then we'll pop over and do the other side. All right, we are almost done. We are nearing the end of this beautiful pie crust. Whew, now our big challenge is gonna be getting this crust transferred onto a pie. But with a little bit of patience, I think we can do it. We're almost done. I think I can. We're getting to the finish line. Okay, so just some last key tips and takeaways. When you're doing this, you're not stretching your dough, you're just lightly pulling it back. If you stretch your dough is gonna bake, and when it bakes, it's gonna shrink up because you've stretched it out and it's gonna go back to its size that it wants to go back to, its original size. So don't stretch it when you're doing this. Be gentle, be patient, be slow when you're doing it. When you're starting this process, I highly recommend doing it between 2 pieces of parchment paper rather than flouring your whole surface, because it's gonna be a lot easier, you're gonna see at the end, to transfer this on top of your fruit pie filling if it is on a piece of parchment paper. All we're gonna have to do is pick this up and flip it over. You're going to be amazed. All right, we have made this beautiful lattice crust. I want you to be really careful with it, but I want you to take it once you finish and put it in the fridge to chill. There's a lot of butter in this. It's kind of melted over time. We've been playing with it with our hands. So now I'm gonna let it chill while I make the fruit pie filling. So let's get started on our fruit pie filling. Let's get that yummy, sugary goodness going. I've already cut up a good bit of fruit right here. I've already cut up a lot of my peaches. So we've got our peaches and our strawberries right here, and we are just gonna mix a little bit of sugar with this. I always like to try my fruit and see how it's tasting. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's so good. It doesn't need hardly any sugar. I would say about 1/4 cup. No, maybe I think we need about 1/2 cup. We're gonna add the sugar. We're gonna need something to keep it from being too watery. We're gonna add some cornstarch as our thickener. You can use cornstarch, you could use flour. About 1/4 cup I think will be good. Not much more than that. Fruit pies are very simple. They don't need a lot. When your fruit is fresh in the summer and it's just, just been harvested, it should be at its peak of flavor. If you're using frozen fruit, that's just come out of a bag from the grocery store, that is completely okay. I think you're probably gonna need to add a little extra sugar for the frozen fruit because it may not have been harvested at its peak of flavor, but these peaches are from Dickey Farms in South Georgia. These strawberries are local. I got it at the farmer's market right here in Gainesville. So this is prime Southern flavors and Southern summer flavors right here, all in that we are about to put in this decadent all butter pie crust right here. So at this point, I like to kind of taste it and just see if the flavors are all coming together. That's fabulous. So good, so fresh, delicious. Got my pie crust right here. And all I'm gonna do is take my fruit, add it into my pie crust. Well, we've got our fruit in here, and now all we need is to grab some pats of butter. Butter makes everything better. Just a couple of pats of butter to give it that rich decadence. We're gonna add this in. I kind of just take and kind of dot it over the pie. I always use unsalted butter in my pie crust. I actually always use unsalted butter on almost everything, always when I'm cooking, but I always use salted butter when I'm making a cobbler to dot my cobbler with, and I always use salted butter on my bread. Good quality salted butter. In fact, I like to add a little kosher salt to the top of my butter and olive oil when I'm eating it with bread. I think it makes it even better. So we've got that right there. Let me grab the top of the crust. So remember, we've had the crust in the fridge chilling to keep it cold because we don't want all of it to turn to mush with all that butter. We don't want it to get warm and melty and gushy. We want it to be kind of firm, still to where we can work with it, but a little bit firm. So let me grab that out of the fridge. I have to tell you about my friend real quick. Sue, my friend, Sartor, she makes these beautiful dresses. She is a Southern tastemaker, and I'm wearing one of her beautiful dresses today. She was just named in Southern Living magazine as one of the South's best tastemakers. So if you haven't heard about her or checked her out, she's a good friend of mine. You've got to, and I'm just so proud of her, so I had to mention her. I just love her. But we've got this dough that we just grabbed out of the fridge. It's a little bit firm now, and I'm gonna show you how to do this just so that you don't break it and you don't make any mistakes. All right, so let's fix this so that we're all ready. I'm gonna bring our pie pretty close right here. So we are gonna take the dough, kind of get your hand up underneath it, and we're gonna take and just kind of flip it onto the top of this pie, just like this. Ooh, isn't that gorgeous? So as you can see, it is not that hard. You just take and flip your dough right onto the top. And with a dough like this, I don't want to pleat the edges that much. I kind of just want to take and roll it in. Take your edges and roll them up underneath the sides. Kind of bring it around. And now, as you can see, you have this delicious pie that is ready to be baked.